All right, so far we have Mr. Diddy kind of. I don't think John's gonna be able to make it.
He said he had doctors.
Yeah.
And Will might be, so. Thanks for that. Oh, we got a little. Oh, well, he's coming in.
Nice.
Yeah, he's at the beer fest.
She said a brew fest.
Nice.
One of the better excuses.
My husband would agree with you on that one. I noticed you didn't share the location. It's like, don't you come work in my party.
He works at the arena. So I'm kind of assuming it's at the-
Oh, you're right. It is probably at the arena. Probably not having as quite as much fun as we would imagine him having.
Once the electric set up.
Can you hear me now?
How's the beer?
Can you hear me now?
I hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
How's the beer?
And yeah, I'm here for the beer.
All right, folks, I think we could start this meeting. We have, it is 8:03:04 p.m. 2022. We have myself, Kathy, Mark, Johannan, Matt, Sean Rowland is here, and we have Will on Zoom. Okay, we have a few different items to talk about, but before we go over these items, this is gonna wildly change. I'm gonna hand it over to Sean. We've been having some very in-depth conversations. From my understanding, the master is broke for the most part. There is no new spending that is anything that's out of budget or budget for the master.
It's,
Period.
we're talking about new spending specifically, but not budgeted spending. If we do our diligence, we could probably come out with 10,000 at the end of the year if we can collect some of these debts. Let me tell you what we discovered. In an effort to try to get all the accounts in after getting the data from Associate on Tuesday, I went through the data line by line, trying to see what the accounts look like. So I've not ever been able to see each person's account, just their balance up to this point. There are 498 accounts with credits on them. Of those 498, 29 that we've discovered have a large credit on them. $3,000 to $1,000 or somewhere in between that. 29 of those accounts that we're talking about have those credits from a gross misposting by Associate. So I'll give you an idea. Our previous arrangement with the attorney, Friedman, right, was that we paid him a stipend to go for collections, and when he collected, he paid us back. We called that legal reimbursement and legal expense. So it came out of legal expense, and legal reimbursement came in as income, and ta-da, we were fine and washed. Many of those legal reimbursements weren't posted to legal reimbursements within our ledger code. They were posted directly to the user's account in thousands of dollars. Some of them 1,000, 2,000, because whatever the fee was he charged and whatever the interest was, all that got stipend back in there as opposed to offsetting something that was on their account. Many of those people that were delinquent in the first place found they had a large credit and stopped paying us. Okay, I'll let you gasp and hear that for just a second. They stopped paying us. So if I take the credit and put it in the right place, which wouldn't affect our income, it puts them out of the credit balance into a delinquency. A delinquency we may not be able to collect because we made an error. We as our group made an error that we can't explain, and let's ha ha ha, you did it, it's not my fault. How am I supposed to get put in collections for this? That shortfall looks to be about $60,000.
So this is gross mismanagement.
It's a gross mismanagement. In addition to that, there are numerous cases, and we've only gone through maybe 50 so far before 68, where there are credits, small and medium-sized ones, done by Associate, we'll just call it Associate, that are credited for no reason whatsoever. A late fee credit or an interest credit where there was no charge for a late fee or interest credit. We take those back and they're gonna laugh at us as well. Basically, we have to look for rooms. I don't know the exact amount. We're gonna have to go through these individually and come up with the exact amount before it's over. I wrote a database, imported the data, made a cross-reference. I had to come up with a report for you, okay? So the reality is that offset with the fact that we have on the books, $15,000 worth of delinquencies. On the report that we received from Associa that ended on the 31st, we have $38,000 worth of delinquencies. The delinquencies could amount to about $100K. That $100K absorbs our 10% offset. And what's the offset? We are allowed to make 10% over our income each year without being taxed. Once we get over that spot, we have to start paying 30%. If we take the stipend on this, that 30% would have to be paid. That means we're losing 30 cents on the dollar for the dues or 30% of our income from that section. Okay, let's take it a step further. There are numerous accounts, and I don't know how many again, I have to go through them that have double paid.
Oh, gosh.
They took the ACH payment and they took the town square payment every month for the last year and a half or so. If I apply just half that, that means for a year and a half, I've got a credit that legally we have to refund. Anybody see the problem besides me?
Yeah. Is there a lawsuit we can do against Associa on this?
Okay, that's the next topic of conversation, but the reality is that any new spending needs to be stopped or put on the cuff somehow. In other words, like if I've spent some money out of pocket, I'm not expecting to get it back till next year at this point. Okay. We can function that way, and we can do limited things because some of those limited things we're going to talk about, and I'm going to push to do it a different way, but we're going to do it. Okay. But the reality is nothing out of budget. If we just went with the budget, the contracted services and what we have budget for contracted services and our monthly expenses, we could end up with 10K at the end of the year.
If I may just clarify, because John and I just got off on our conversation.
And it was heated because I'm venting at this point.
It's okay.
Furious. Okay.
But my understanding is we have a severe, it's looking like we have a severe cash problem, not just budgets. Even if it is in budget, if it's going to cost money out of pocket, for instance, as a fence that we all know is going to come down. Okay, somebody needs to pay the fence guy. We don't have the funds to pay the fence.
Well, that's in the service areas budget. This is a topic that came up. Okay. One of the things that I guess needs definition, talking to Tommy, I want you, budget is different than actually having cash. You can see money in the bank account. It doesn't mean it's in budget. It means we haven't spent it on the budget that's forthcoming. The problem is that if we get a budget, and we'll give you an example, the 5,000 general thing that we put all general administration in, that is everything Associa wants to charge us. There's a breakdown that we got. I don't know, did you forward the breakdown to everybody when we finally got it, Kathy? And I know you sent me a copy of it, but there's a breakdown of the last one. Here's a windfall. There were $22,000 pending that they were going to take out of our account, and I transferred the money before they did it.
How much?
22,000. 18,000 of it on one invoice alone that I couldn't make any sense out of. All kinds of fees that can't possibly be charged because we didn't do mailings and all these different things that probably would have gone through. And this is not, we're not talking about payroll, and we're not talking about their monthly. We're talking about extra fees, the add-on fees. So all that breakdown is coming up with postage and mailing and stuff that we just didn't do. So I don't know how long that's been going on that we hadn't seen those. We've been asking for breakdowns on them before, at least before last year, when we didn't have the 5,000 general, we had postage and mail and broken down so we could see it a bit. And then they got jumped in, and we questioned that in the budget meeting, but it seemed to be, well, you're not really going to do any mailing. So that was what came down to it. There are, so that went through. We got the money. However, there are still deposits coming in. They are taking money from members at this point through ACH or otherwise, $1,500 again today that isn't being applied to anything at this point with no documentation for me to look up to find out who it belongs to. Now they're going to have to give me some documentation, because what it comes in on a bank account is a group deposit for this amount of money with no breakdown on who it goes to. So I had a call today where they're not my neighbor, the quintessential neighbor when it comes to following finances, she's on top of it. She called me and said, my ACH went through, it went to the wrong address by accident. What do I do? And I said, what you're gonna have to do is give me a copy of the draft so I can credit it to you at this point. So it shouldn't have gone through, but it did, and we're hoping to get those records, but please give me that. So we're gonna have a bunch of people like that's gonna come in. That's just an accounting faux pas from a transition. It's not huge. It's just small block. But this misposting is a big deal, because what was a liability and an asset is now a lack of income. And if it's going to be, I don't think it's 1-to-1. I think it's probably going to end up being probably 60-to-1 on, I mean, not 61, but I mean, 60% to 100%. So 40% is going to be okay. And then 60% is going to be a loss. And that puts us into a position. Our overage or our buffer for the end of the year should have been about 80K. So I'm recommending not spending anything that's outside of what we already have to spend until I get my hands on what actually I think the projection will be, which I will have done by the end of the month because I'll have the budget finished. But we're going to have to audit these accounts one by one. There's no way around it. And that's doesn't have to come at an expense, it just comes at an expense to the people that are doing it. Could use some assistance, I will tell you that. Whoever wants to volunteer.
So at this point, from what you've described, the problem is so deep and so systematic with Associate that it warrants a lawsuit and it warrants an actual forensic accountant to go through and produce some evidence that would be used in court.
If we could afford a $20,000 full audit, I would say absolutely do it and show the results.
I would say. Kathy had a lot of good points on this on a phone call I had with her and Sean as well. Yes, there definitely should be a case presented to the board. This is a 2023 issue, not 2022. We have too much on our plate. We don't have the cash capital to even bother talking about. But putting it together, putting on paper, presenting it toward the end of the year. This way we can make a solid decision in 2023. Yeah. Maybe
Solid decision on
what to do with associate, because here's the thing, you could have a small claims court, or you could have a full-fledged out lawsuit, which one's going to cost us a fortune, the other one's.
A lawsuit has to be based on mitigated damages. Mitigated damages would be a loss of income in this case, because we had to refund all this money. That's not going to clear its head.
Well, there's the billing for services they didn't provide. There's the double billing with people.
Right, mitigated damages, of course, not for making errors. You really can't get. You're talking about malice and or corruption or some of those things are really hard to prove. If the amount ends up being only $30,000, it's a slam dunk win to go to small claims on it, but that's the limit in Florida for $30,000. Otherwise, we're going to spend $30,000 to get it to court.
Yeah, I mean, this is professional neglect.
It is.
That's exactly right.
It is
professional neglect. So
Absolutely. And the issue starts with, we can't even get the source documentation to back up something like here on their invoice, the postcard postage that they sent out.
Is that the copy of that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the
which they may have not.
$18,000 one here that she's got, and she's the one who requested it, and I basically Kathy got it, and I got a copy of it. But we have AP check stock. We're paying for 41 calendar charges for it, and we have architectural application processing. I don't remember them being that many of them, but apparently we had 24 applications in July.
Friendly reminder notices.
Those are the $15 charges. That
What would
I
the
don't know,
court,
I'm going down the line. There's one down here for direct pass-through that has no explanation whatsoever for $14,148.62. It's a direct pass-through to them, or whatever that is. But
Direct from where?
from us to them, they're taking money out of our account. See, they had total access to this account and they just pay themselves before anything gets paid.
but we have no source documentation
There's
to
not,
say
but this is not the case. did not get paid.
I understand, but this is not, this is just an example of
Right, we have
one of their
yeah,
invoices on what's the backup documentation for it?
But there's no breakdown, if they, unless they're sitting, like,
So the
Well, we
word,
know it's that they're not sitting on it because they sent, TJ sent us an email that said, we shred.
yeah,
okay, and the state requires that we keep copies for at least 3 years within 50 miles of our location. That's what the state requires. Associa did that with the stuff that came from Rosetta, the boxes that we got are all Rosetta. And believe it or not, they're fairly organized.
So did they send the information from Associa?
They don't have.
No,
to.
they don't have it.
They shred it?
Yes.
that's
They
what
shred it.
TJ's claiming. Sure,
Well,
I don't,
But that's what I was told by.
I don't
by
think
Heather as
he
well.
ha-
Same thing.
Can do that.
yeah, but if it's done, it's done. His claim is they shredded it. Again, this all comes back to,
Then-
will this be a lawsuit? Maybe, but we need to we have a bigger problem here.
So,
How do we survive between now and?
one more thing I need to disclose in my overview is yesterday, while all this was going down, I'm trying to see which bank accounts are cleared, and one didn't clear because of a typo that I made on the draft. So that'll be resolved. But all the money is moved to our account. It's still on hold, but it's moved out of Rosetta's accounts. I mean, associated.
That's okay.
Thank God. Except for the $1,500 and $800 deposits that were made for ACH that's still in the operating. So the, we got an $879 debit yesterday at the new account, Truist, which I couldn't identify. So I called the bank. Hey, what the heck is this? I don't know. Let me call you back. I'll check into it. She calls me back and says, oh yeah, it's a forced debit. Apparently, when you had your account here previously, that means previous to this board, before was Associa, there was a credit card issued to, they gave me the name, it's, I don't have my idea how to do it. It's, Denkin Clunky. Does that name ring a bell to either of you?
Danielle?
D-E-N-E-E-N.
Denise.
Denise. So I said
Denise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, she was. She
So
was.
she had a credit card that was issued in her name from the bank account.
What?
Well,
And-
it's a matter of fact at this point. There was a credit card issued in her name. And the bills have been going to Rosetta in review for all its durations. They never had an address change on file. They were paid directly from the bank account that was closed by Associa when we made the switchover. No one had any record of this account. It went delinquent, late fees, interest, et cetera. They finally closed the account. As soon as our tax number hit their account, they saw that we were the same person and took the money.
Nice.
Now,
Mhm.
they did reverse out the interest and late charges, which is
Very gracious.
very gracious of them. Paula is printing out all the statements. I'm gonna pick them up after the meeting, for us to look at, because she says that the account has expenses for things that didn't ring a bell. That happened afterwards that hit the account. So if it's been used by that person, then we also have another problem. But if it isn't and it's real stuff, then it's just we owe the money and shame on us.
May I ask, when was the last transaction? Do we know that?
September of 2020, which is when everything closed down.
Okay.
So it makes sense that Deneen had one, but
The fact it wasn't paid off and
the fact
then,
that it wasn't paid off.
and then just abandoned the debt.
I mean, I don't, who was in charge of the transition last time? I don't care. I'm just saying, whoever was in charge of the transition last time could immediately shut things off.
Well, even then, I mean, Rosetta is right down the street. There are CDD, they're Encore, like, if they're getting these bills for the past year and a half, 2 years, why couldn't they call them forward and say, hey, by the way, this never got dealt with?
Also, why didn't we
Transition.
do an address change to start with?
Yeah,
Well, I can tell you from
Because
what
I've
I,
already done one for associate, just to let you guys know, so.
right.
well, I'm not surprised that they didn't, Rosetta did not tell us that there was a pretty bitter thing from what, I don't know if you were in those meetings.
I
That,
was, but you would think if you're getting a bill, you'd probably want to give that to the person.
well, they were doing things just out of spite. There was a lot of that of spite.
So Sean, can you
So-
sum up your key bullet points here? So I got the double collecting from residents. So they're taking 2 charges from the residents. Did they credit the resident with 2 charges?
Oh, yeah.
Or they keep
Some of them
one?
had- Some of them have $1,500 in the hopper waiting to be spent.
So it's at least that's their money that's in the account. It's not like they took it twice and only gave the resident credit for one.
No, that, I mean, it got credited to the member.
Mhm,
And,
okay,
and the member does have credit, but it really isn't our income, and technically, if we collect a year in advance, we'd have to pay 30% on it, we have to either refund it or do something with it.
so if a member's got $1,500 in their account credit,
We owe them
Give them back the money.
$1,500, so.
Again, and
After it's applied for the year, we can
Right.
take
It's a
every
good
amount for the year and then
conversation.
give it back.
give them back the $1,500, right?
Yeah.
From an account that hasn't had any balance. Right, so we have some spending issues. Sean made a fine example. If there's 100 grand coming in, we know 100 grand's coming in for the year, we budget out 100 grand.
right?
Right? The problem is we don't have 100 grand coming in. We have budget sitting for 100 grand, and we're getting 30 grand less. What do you do at the end of the year?
We just gotta not spend money. on
We
it.
just have to not spend money.
So the next bullet point I had was, they were taking credits that should have gone to the master and crediting to individual owners' accounts.
It should have gone to an expense on the master that we already spent. So when we closed with Friedman, we had like a $40,000 balance that we thought we would never see.
Mhm.
We actually did see it. It was just posted wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So that money was posted to the account, giving them a false sense of a credit. It's a false credit that many people took advantage of, or they were just people who don't pay their
Yeah.
bill in the first place and didn't even see it yet because it's so much money, it's not gonna, because
So the fix for that is to just zero out their accounts. Like, you got away for speeding this long, but
right, I
You know,
mean,
you-
that's what we're discussing at this point is what to do about this. And you know, I mean, I'd stick it to them and prove it to them and say, bring, go to court, but some of these guys are doing it, you can tell they're doing it criminally. I mean, oh, I'll never tell them, they'll never know, they're so stupid.
You know, what would be great, the decision maker on that would be finding a total number. If we knew the total number, once you do a complete account.
Yep.
Look over and say, hey, the number's 5 grand, we could look at it and make a decision, say the
Yeah.
number is 30 grand. We got a different decision.
Yeah. It's the 29 checks that we found from Freeman so far exceeds 30 grand.
I'm sorry, 29 checks.
The 29 checks that were posted to members' accounts from Freeman, the law company for, that were misposted, there's 29 of them that we
It
found.
was
this far.
legal money that was supposed to come to the master. And instead of sending it to the master, the lawyer sent.
was this a result of the whole paver thing
To the,
with the builder over there?
back to the person that.
Well,
They had money
they
from
didn't
Charles.
send it wasn't they sent it to that person. It was posted
Yeah.
to,
To their.
associate posted it to their account.
Right.
So
And that's
dues
just
that
giving
we
them
would have
money.
collected,
They were
coming out of
Yeah.
free and
Rather
It
than-
wasn't like, John, I mean,
No,
I
no,
gave you
But they
that.
got money, they owed money from their.
So this
account.
is not necessarily the lawyer sent the money wrong, it's associated.
associate post.
Posted it.
Which-
Well, I can promise you, the lawyer would send a check out that was itemized saying, here's the service,
This
the legal fee, here's the interest, here's the thing. So they see the address it's on
And
it.
just never said it.
They don't bother to look that it's a legal check.
Correct.
They just post the check to the account that's on
So
the address.
once again, back to that
so
budget.
that they have-
Getting the dues in,
They don't
instead
have
of
to
paying
do
them to pay the dues.
Literally, they've got.
Yeah,
a
that's gotta be
room full of
zeroed out.
monkeys,
Right.
I'm guessing.
Well, they
Zero.
probably,
Like, you can start paying now.
It's a 40,000.
probably a lot of entry people
First thing
and
you stop the bleeding.
probably, who knows where they're.
So what we did yesterday.
No, in the past, no.
Jason did a little bit more precise and so that we amortized out what we have to spend between now and then. Exact numbers. That includes, you know, payroll,
When you just
landscaping.
Look at our
you know,
expenses this year.
This is something he put together. It's a little hard to read because it's cutting out some of his descriptions. But basically, the numbers are that every month,
Yeah.
the bleeding that we have to go through, mandatory bleeding is $34,264.10. That's mandatory bleeding.
So from now till
End of the
The
year.
end of the year.
31 December.
If these triggers that he's got in here for the outstanding part of it, we came up with, some of these are not accurate because I can't tell what the delinquencies are until I find out what the credits are. And then when we get that point, we're hoping, in the best case scenario, that we'll probably have 10 to 20 grand.
Mhm.
Now, mind you, a tree falls down and you have to get it cut. It's still in our budget, but there's not cash.
Yeah.
That's the difference between having the cash and the budget. I mean,
You mean like in these, what was supposed to come out of reserve in that case, but there's no money really in these reserve accounts, and is that?
Well, a tree fall wouldn't come out of.
no,
Maybe
that's
that's
maintenance.
On the operation.
Okay, got it.
So, any reserve account, that works. Anything we do in reserve, that's a planned expenditure. That's why we do that.
Okay.
The roof needs to be replaced. Okay, we have money in the account, replace the roof. That's a different, throw that over here. What we're talking about is incidental expenses that aren't out of the reserve that come up. And I mean incidental, like, good example. I'm sorry? Okay,
This, yeah.
Up in the pool.
the splash pad is an incidental expense. It's a repair expense. We could pull it from reserve if you wanted to do that. But let's say someone came in here and bashed a bunch of windows in. That's not a reserve expense. That's an incidental expense. We have to get it fixed right now.
Is there something that says we can't use the reserve money for that?
There is. We can borrow from reserves with the approval of the members. And that's okay. I mean, if you say, but, okay,
Do we have to get a?
let's talk about full disclosure.
Okay.
How much of this do you wanna tell people until we get it sorted out? You don't. You wanna wait till we get it sorted out and prove the numbers that we are and have it looked at. And then basically then say, this is what we found and this is why we have a problem. How? Now let's talk about a loan. We can do loans, okay? No interest loans are allowed without approval. Interest loans require approval, and that includes credit cards. So we can do a credit card if we pay it off every month. But that's not what we're doing. We need it to revolve.
So approval from the members?
Yes.
Mhm.
So any loans,
If we were to pull from reserves, which isn't fully funded, so.
Well, I understand this issue with the reserves, and obviously we don't want to pull from, because
can
some
I
of
tell you
them,
how Associate handled this the first year and the second year?
I'm
They
pretty,
just didn't fund the reserves. That would be great in the master. if you-
And they pulled from all the other options.
Right, but they didn't fund the reserves. That's why I had to put that $75,000 back into the reserves, the pool fund, because they didn't fund the reserves. You could do that and get away with it. It's kind of indirectly borrowing without approval, just saying we didn't have the money to fund it. Sorry, it's so sad, too bad. The problem with that is that our reserve funding is $688 a month, guys. It's nothing.
It's not breaking the bank out.
What other bullet points you got? If you were to make a Facebook post saying, hey, we gotta tighten the waist strap because of these things that happened.
But we just got to, I'm so sorry, but didn't we just discuss that we may not want to go public with this yet? Until.
I'm saying if you were, like, for example,
Okay.
what are your talking points? You're standing on the pulpit, because you can't give this long drawn out speech about numbers and percentages and this
Because
10,000,
you
that
have
7,000.
lost people.
Right.
What are the,
Get-
No, I completely understand that there was, the first thing is there was misposting by associate.
Mhm.
That has to be corrected. Some could be refunds and some could end up being delinquencies. That's the biggest issue that we're talking about now. The other problem, the second bullet item is that we have a problem when we're talking about $40,000. We have a 5% shortfall in our budget for people not paying their dues with a 10% buffer. 50% shy of it.
so you need people to pay their dues.
That's one, that'll help.
Those two things solves this problem. If one didn't happen and we can collect the money, we collect the money, we're gonna have to refund most of it because of the problem. So we're not gonna see any windfall from that. But we won't add a shortfall. How about that?
I'm with you, on this, but so reverse engineering something. We have $175,000 approximate shortfall to get to the end of the year. Am I reading that number correctly? $35,000 a month times 5.
Not a shortfall. We anticipate with the money coming in for the quarter. That the $35,000 a month can be reached with about $19,000 left at the end of the year with nothing unexpected. $19,000 as opposed to the $80,000 we should have had.
Okay, so
That's provided everyone pays their dues.
So our bank
That's
account,
100%.
100% paying the dues.
so what is our unpaid dues as a percentage of,
5% right now. Almost 6.
and so what's our revenue per month?
Monthly,
I mean, I'm just trying to get numbers in my head.
no,
Right there.
But it does go to one of my comments that I wrote in preparation of this meeting is that we gotta get away from paying by month. You have to pay in once or twice a month.
no, that doesn't solve the
You
problem.
can't.
Actually, I'm gonna recommend paying monthly next year, because I'm looking at $1,000 for these.
Then why don't we just pay in advance? Pay everything's gotta do in January.
Because the bill's too big, man. Think about it, you have service areas that pay monthly for service areas, you're gonna start to ask people for $2,000 January bill.
No, ours would be like $3,000.
Okay, $3,000. The point is, it's too big, plus,
And I'm
it's a
paying-
different topic, but as I said in my email, people are structured to pay bills monthly, why we want to take away from that, I have no idea. Our current problem is
Just don't
quarterly,
confuse
nobody paid quarterly.
So we get quarterly, we get $168,000.
For,
Quarter.
Yeah, you pay your phone bill monthly, you pay your car monthly, you pay your mortgage monthly,
And,
pay your HOVs monthly.
and if someone wanted to pay quarter, there's nothing gonna stop them to pay that way. If
Well,
we-
I would-
if make it due month on.
My
that.
suggestion would be two stop, pay monthly or all in advance,
okay, because there's just so much confusion.
so much confusion.
So 165 is $7,000 or $8,000 short. Rough numbers per quarter.
Based on the numbers that are theoretically probably 100% budget that you had it in. You had $7,000 that wasn't already allocated to something left that you can use per month. So where you were collecting 100% at the time, but that wasn't including the incidental bills that we don't have any of those for you.
Discretionary 7,869,560, sorry. Budget is 42,173, mandatory is 34. Budgeted is $42,000 a month that we're spending. That's if we don't.
I'm trying to get a sense of, there's lots of numbers here. I'm a visual guy. I don't see it on the
Well,
board, so.
that's why Jason made that chart.
Let's
It-
slow down.
have-
So tell me what amount of money do we need to come up with?
I don't think we know. I don't think he's gonna
Okay,
know
so
for a
let me
minute.
ask you a question. I'll go to the next step of that. Where do you expect to get it from?
I don't know.
That's the whole point.
But if we have if we're gonna be in default of contract, we'll have to figure something out.
It
We
doesn't
might
look
have to
like
call a
we're gonna be
special
in
meeting of
default
the
anyway.
membership to say we need to take a loan because we have this
It doesn't,
shortfall.
like I'm telling you, it doesn't look like we're going to be in that. We're catching this before it gets to the point that we'll be in default of anything.
Okay.
With a
But we won't be
$7,000
cash
variance,
so.
but it's $7,000.
So our,
That's owed to me right now. That's if I don't collect on what I've spent to get this transition made.
I got another $1,000 or $1,500.
right, so we have,
That's if we don't collect
So we
that.
come-
And
we
I
come-
say, I'm a nice guy and we don't have to pay me till next year.
right, I bet that's assuming 100%.
That's right.
We're saying, that's what I'm trying to say is, but traditionally a quarterly, it's $7,000 or $8,000, 5% of 165, I'm doing rough math,
Yeah,
but
no, that's
let's
fine.
say 8,000, so.
You are correct.
So we're talking at, so we're talking at least $10,000 to $12,000 unpaid, plus the 10,000, so we're $22,000 in the hole. Right? This is, I'm just trying to get a magnitude of what.
No, that's where the
$20,000
$20,000 comes that we talked about earlier, but yes.
Yes,
Right, 22,000.
right. That's why on the chart, it says is it 20 on the bottom here?
It's 19,000 and change.
Yeah, okay, so came up close with. the
Yeah,
number,
it's
right?
really close.
So we need so we need to figure out where we can come up with $20,000. What contract can we cancel that has no cancellation penalty?
It's just off the cuff thinking, there's nothing to cancel.
There really isn't.
There's just don't spend.
We don't have any-
We've already dumped everything possible.
Pool attendant,
Pool attendant's gone in 17. Just done.
Do we need the CAM for the rest of the year?
Yeah,
Do we?
yeah.
We haven't had a CAM this,
I had this, well, because you're inventing more issues now, right? If we said, we don't need you for the rest of the year. We probably won't have one at the first year either. We're back spending money trying to find a position that we don't have. I'm pretty sure legally we have to have a CAM,
Do we?
legally do have a CAM.
a licensed
have a-
Florida CAM,
Okay,
an LCAM.
I can get my license over the weekend.
I don't think you can because you need to have a certain amount of time to get your LCAM here in Florida. You can get your CAM, you can't get your LCAM.
It's more complicated than I.
You need to be
thought.
sponsored at a time on property. in order to get.
To do what? To get a
Right,
can
my
license?
property management on California is transferable. 17 years ago.
Technically, he might be.
He might be, I still think it's a horrible idea, but
I'm just saying.
But
I could
it
do
is
that. I'm throwing
technically-
out anything we can at this
Yeah.
point.
I'm just saying,
so if we,
If we cut that,
I mean, that's,
it's a huge cut, unfortunately.
That's like saying you need your left leg.
yeah,
Understood. I'm not,
not really. I mean, we haven't had one for a month.
hold on a second. I'm not advocating doing that. I think we're talking, you're really talking about doing something. We certainly could do away with somebody else, but I wouldn't want to lose Jennifer or anybody else like that. I just want to do that. We don't have enough flexibility in labor to make that work. And we do need to establish someone who can be in charge and take care of, because there's going to be a load of problems when this comes down.
there already is, we've been dealing with them for the past month, physically dealing. So, no, we just can't do that. We can't cut back from the plan of cutting away from associate, going to self-manage. If we have to move employees and get rid of employees and that, just go back to associate. Go back to being a board that just sits around and that's another, well, I'm serious, because I don't want to eat the work.
I'm not arguing, but I was just
Right.
thinking outside of that box for just a second.
And it makes me vomit a little in my mouth, but you know, if we don't have what it takes to do it, we do, then we just go back to having something.
Tommy made a statement that I'm gonna reiterate, and I know he wasn't dead serious about it, but he was trying to make a point. Is, you know, if we can't do what we need to get done, why do anything? And the reality is, and I'm paraphrasing, but the reality is, I get that. We still have to be able to function and move forward. What can we do to not go backwards? Let's put it this way, if we're looking at $20,000 and we can go after a couple of people that have always the money, I mean, literally bang on the door and say, let's like, might get $20,000 out of that. That's one way. I'm sorry.
And
Mr.
as I said,
Jones.
my plan in person to do that was the camp. You don't have the cam, we're not gonna do it.
What about a special assessment?
75% vote.
Yeah.
And that's something you can't change even the charter when you rewrite it. It's required by law for us to have 70%. They put 70%.
Yeah, that I agree. Well, you shouldn't do that without,
So 75% of the members have to vote.
For
Or-
it. Have to
Raising the
approve
odds
it.
of 75% of people in this community voting for it.
You need 100% voting.
Okay, let me tell you, hey, guys. We got caught with our pants down, associates screwed up. We need 20 grand. You okay with that?
people are gonna be mad. That's not gonna go.
There's gonna be pitchforks and tar. Okay, so this, let's run out there and it's gonna be a hot subject. There's $88,000 in the account right now, about $68,000 actually belongs to the service areas. It was supposed to be starting to be separated, but Associated literally didn't do anything with those new accounts, even though it took us 9 months to have them open. They didn't do anything but open them.
You convinced me to not even bring that topic up.
I did. The reason I'm bringing it up, I'm not gonna bring it up what you think I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
We're gonna fund that, we're not gonna borrow from anything, we're not gonna borrow from the service areas. However, it could, and I'm saying this in the best way I can say it without offending myself, because it does offend myself. How long will it take me to do the bookkeeping and to find out what we really owe? Could take 3 or 4 months. I'm just saying, you're gonna yell at me, and I know it, but I'm just saying. Okay. And then the first quarter comes in and we do the transfers and take care of the ones.
Closest ally.
That's what Associate did to us, by the way.
The biggest problem right now is even if we wanted to collect, nobody knows how to pay their bills,
Well, it's gonna be.
other
fixed on the-
other than mail a check. So that's the first thing we need to do
No,
is
that's a week
get
away.
at fully up and running.
That's a week away.
That's 1 week away, which brings me to my, my original call was, A, you have read-write access. We had it, was checking that. But B, more importantly, out of all this, the account migration, what is that looking like for the 15th? I know you said it's a mess, but what,
If I hadn't found that last night, it would happen today, but it would happen Monday morning. In the tack that it is, 'cause I can't do anything until we start making changes.
the tack that it is the tack that it was, right?
Has to be. I have to have a starting point.
No, that's okay. I'm trying to avoid the phone blowing up with residents seeing something different than what they saw 2 weeks ago.
One of the challenges we have with the accounts is that associate didn't track delinquencies or credits by what it went to. It's just a massive number. So if you owed a year's worth of service area and 1 year of master, it was all one delinquency. So because we're breaking this out, I had to go in manually and break out each one of those accounts and say, well, this is actually service area, and this is actual master, and that's done. So as soon as I give them that, we're online, and that's gonna happen Monday morning.
Before that happens, those accounts that have like a $4,000 credit, they need to be a 0 credit.
Can't happen that way. I've gotta have
They can't see something different, Mark, that they didn't see.
Yeah, accounting can't disappear in between a transition. It
We
can
can
happen
fix it
afterwards.
Right, it can be posted and then drawn down the next moment.
That's the right way to do it, is that I can make a correction after it happens.
With an annotation was incorrectly posted.
Yeah, you have to explain.
And then they can choose to come back and say, why was it incorrect?
It's the second you push an account in negative.
And this is also a great reason why I needed exact accounting at the end of this with the history, because had this come down and we not had the history, which is what happened with Rosetta, they go to court with us. They win. I had no proof. But now I
So
do.
what do you need from the board to get this done?
I can get my part of it done, and I'm gonna get it done tonight. I talked to Brian today. He's waiting for my file. He's gonna import it to me. And I can get it done. I'm just gonna use the balances that we have and make the adjustments later and go for there. So we're live, that part's out.
Do you need additional auditors? Do you need assistance?
Now, after I get it imported and we start go live, I would like to go through each one of the accounts, all 1,328 of them, and find out what the status is and make sure it looks right. Sorry?
If the board can go ahead and get those invoices from Freedom.
That'd be great, yeah.
Invoices
That's
from
a good point, good point. What they gave us on those checks, I have check numbers, we can give you those. If we can get the breakdown of those checks, that would help tremendously. Or if we can get a breakdown of any checks that they did, and that'd be even better.
Basically, Mark, if we could get the invoices for those particular accounts, we could see what was supposed to be allocated to. What was supposed to be allocated to.
So you're talking about,
So first you have to identify the accounts.
Well, you could go to Freedom and say, I need all the records for payments made to us between this date and that date. We should have it anyway. We really should have record of that. It would, if we could get that, then I've got source data to rebuild the errors.
but you
Provided there's a
don't
breakdown,
have all
it's not
the source, you don't have all the source data.
But if you can just break down legal accounting, I'm not talking about regular accounting, business accounting. Legal accounting is different because they cannot bill, they have to itemize what they billed and what the expenses were on the ledger. They may not have it on the check, but they typically do. If they don't, I need the ledger. They have to have that for record, according to state law. So
The law firm.
the law firm,
Yeah,
Are they obligated to give it to us?
yes.
Yes,
Okay, that's, I don't know how we ended things with Friedman.
Not good.
Not good, but it doesn't matter.
they're still legally.
Kelly got
required.
all upset because we were gonna have him do the regular liability legal. He only wanted the collections because he was making big money on the collections.
that's because he got prepaid before he collected anything.
I'd like to get prepaid before I do work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So does anybody know him and had any
Well,
interaction?
had interaction.
I can work with Kelly, just give me an email at what dates, let me know check numbers and remind me a ledger.
Be lovely to do September 1st to 24th. I'm not expecting anything from Associates Rand. Just, I mean,
What is it? What did they do?
What's the
9/1/24.
Wait, say it again? September 1st, 2020. What is he saying?
I think that's what he's saying.
What's yours?
The first to forward.
The other one's-
So nine
9/1/2020.
to,
September of 2020 to present day.
Don't assume
Right.
that-
Well, to whenever we stop having.
To
Friedman be
termination.
our lawyer.
We could find a whole bunch of things that don't apply at all. he was
sorry,
just stating, we could
conversation.
pull up from PDF, we could pull up the actual checks that are allocated, but it doesn't mean that, because all those notations are done by hand, doesn't mean that there's a whole bunch of them that aren't notated. Credits that we can't see because they didn't notate it correctly. I need to see all of it so I can find what.
You said you have check numbers?
Only on 29 of them.
Okay, then don't worry about it. Let me just get a hold of Kelly and request this first.
That would be huge. That would help a lot. Then we can go back to each of the accounts, rebuild the account from what it is, because charge, no charge, whether, and we have found in an ordinance, would you say that, the way to say that, number of reversing fees when they were late?
And look, man, like,
Who makes those
if
judgment
the
calls?
IRS makes a mistake and they come back and fix it, you still owe the IRS the money.
I'm aware. And then some.
Right. They're gonna go, by the way, we made a mistake and then you owe us interest. So,
Penalty fee, interest fee, lifetime filing fee. We're going back 10 years and looking further. That's what you get.
That's why the number's important.
Yeah.
If it is indeed over 30 some odd thousand, closer to 40,000.
because if
then that's
if
exactly
my
what-
account got credited $4,000,
You'd know it though.
I would know that I did
And
not
you call
deposit,
and say, Sean, what's
Yes.
wrong with my account?
right? I'm not gonna be like, oh,
Oh, great,
they'll never know.
right.
Well, there might be an explanation, because my husband dealt with some of the legal, and there is something listed in writing when I got certain credit back into my account that,
But something was sent in writing to you.
yes.
There was an explanation.
It's
They
like
didn't
Sean,
just say magically, here's some money.
it's like
Yeah.
Sean
I
said, and he
mean,
is
you've
right.
read it in the paper, people who've gotten an error in their bank account. And they started sending the money, and the bank came after them and said, give us back our money.
So
Yeah.
The
that,
US government checked my pay for $13
Yeah.
for combat leave that I took 10 years ago. And they did an audit and they said, oh, we credited you an extra half a day of leave and you didn't deserve it.
you
We're
didn't
taking,
read that fine line in your
we're
contract.
taking your
when you signed
$13.
it, huh?
10 years later,
Yeah.
they took it.
It's out of
So-
statute of limitations, but because they're the government, you can't do anything about it.
Mhm.
Right, so what's the statute of limitations for us?
3 years,
How much?
3 years.
So everything is still within statute of limitations. And so these 29 are the big accounts, correct? The 1 to 3,000?
Yep.
So if we average 1,500, we're talking approximately 45.
Right, the
$1,000.
total outstanding, whatever double payments or whatever is $111,000.
And Johanna, to your effect,
That 54,000.
if there is something
That's
where
the
it's in there
29.
and it's a clear mistake, the onus is on the
So I was
board
being
to
generous.
prove in writing that they got confirmation of getting this in their account and that it deserves, it's supposed to be there, right?
I'm thinking back of how it was.
No, I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, the way it was handled, I remember I had to contact the HOA for them to actually explain it in writing or something to the effect that kind of did something.
At this particular point, we're explaining that.
Yeah.
If it were you, you'd be explaining that you got an extra $2,000 in your account, you said nothing to no one and we have no one.
Give me a piece of paper and the back.
Actually, we know that.
Well-
Yes.
Misappropriated funds.
No,
Yeah,
it's
well,
okay.
you know,
Yeah. I'm just saying,
It
they
was
would have to
that
have a letter come back
paper.
from the Zeta
That was-
associate, an email that was sent that says,
So
this is why.
everything's all screwed up. So now let's talk about how we're gonna spend money.
How we're going to spend money? No, we're not.
You can't.
We are gonna talk about one thing, then I'm gonna volunteer. I'm trying to give some leeway to things that are trying to make managing stuff better. And I thought about this after I talked to Tom about it extensively.
Do I hit you now or later?
No, you're not gonna hit me at all. We do have an issue with being able to stay in compliance and report things. We have a huge one. I've got 4 or 5 people in my neighborhood that needs to be given a letter right now, and I can't do anything about it. Would it be helpful to have something that could be in the field to do that, a laptop or otherwise? I can either donate a couple laptops, which I'm more than willing to do. I've got 5 of them, and I looked at 2 of them are 2014 with the work. Or I can volunteer this, and I'm not sure, and if anyone tells my wife, I'm gonna kill you both, all of
I'm not sure.
you. I have a business,
How much is it worth to you?
a business account at Apple. I purchase roughly around $100,000 of computers a month. I can get the iPads that we need, buy the cases, we have to buy the cases for whatever, $40 a piece, 20 cases. And pay for the service, which is $50 a month. I'm willing to to put that on my account. So we have the tools that we need. In light that I will get it by the end of 2023 as a reimbursement.
Is that something, can you actually do that? Is that legal?
Yes, I can donate anything I want.
It's not donated, it's loan.
No, it's me not sending in an expense report until late, you guys deciding to pay it because it's valid.
While I think that's very generous of you, I would think that donating a laptop would be better. I don't like, the fact of the matter is, this association already owes you $5,000.
Okay. All that being said, that was a calculated risk. I'm okay with it. I'm not hurting for the money, guys. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to buy as many skeletons this year. It's fine.
The point is, Sean, none of us are. Look where we live.
No.
None of us is hurting.
Some of us are.
They shouldn't be. Kathy, none of this sits well with me. I hate half-assing stuff. So I don't wanna do any. I say exactly what Sean said. You wanna get violations out? That's great. She's gonna send a photo on her phone, write it down on a notepad, come back to the office, plug in the violation. And that's what's gonna happen until we decide we have $300 to get. Because even with the iPad or the laptop, we need internet connectivity, which is gonna require a contract with either Verizon, T-Mobile, Mint, anywhere from $30 to $60, and so just hold off on it. We're gonna do it by hand. We can do that for a short period of time.
And we're talking
Where that strap.
end of the year, first time we get the first quarter, we'll buy those things.
That's fine. Out of this list here of stuff, what I believe we can't go up without is the lease on the envelope.
What?
At least
Why?
Because
Because
we're gonna end up sending a bunch of notices.
I can't mail them.
we to get the violations going, I think you legally.
Hold on a
have to-
second. I'll give an argument for Kathy's side.
Okay,
My wife and I manage multiple offices that my wife's supposed to do it, but it's my wife and I. Do the billing for multiple medical offices. We roughly send out 1,000 invoices a week.
mhm.
We handfold stuff. Takes us about an hour. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
So are we saying the employees are to handle the,
The employees would be doing push meter, and they'll have to do that, and if we do it with double window, they won't have to be labeling them, but they wouldn't have to fold them. Now,
Furthermore, I don't think double windows can work, but that's okay. We'll try on.
okay,
Just
we should figure that out. It's just I think it makes.
no, I agree.
Otherwise, we have to print envelopes, which takes more time, so that's possible too. This particular device is folder inserted. Now, here's a problem with folder inserting, and I'll tell you what it is. It's perfect if you only have one piece of paper. Not so good if you have two.
This is designed to do up to 10 sheets.
I realize, but I'm telling you what I know for a fact. Sometimes they misspeed and they get missed piece of paper and you wouldn't know it until they got it to them. It's not as easy as you think. But this is a nice device he's picked out. It's in the price range. we
Furthermore,
wanna do.
I think you're right. And to Kathy's point, here's the thing. I have no problem going without this. We're not doing any bulk sending. ARC, I'm not even touching it until next year, because we're not mailing. That's it. Only thing that's going out, the onesie, twosie violations every day.
Handful and stuff, and then
Then they can be.
build it into the
handled.
budget for
Yeah,
next year.
I'm just saying, there's nothing,
all right,
the budget, yeah,
Yes.
and the annual budget.
And the,
Or we
any formal letter that's
Fold the
going
stuff
to
that
these
I'm
29
I can fold the stuff and talk to you at the same time. I'm doing it.
I'm not-
29 I will fold 29 letters. I mean, come on.
You bring some wine.
yeah, if we're gonna limit
We get some-
down and just
Wait,
focus.
the new social committee meetings are based on wine and folding and stuffing at the same time. There you go.
I'm not
We
gonna
have
lie, folks.
employees,
we all have our strong points.
they can be paid,
I'm
because
not folding.
you can't allow residents to see private information, so we
Right.
have to do,
Yeah.
because that would cause us more problems. If you have people having their private information go disclosing.
No, it has to be the board
Exactly.
Again, if we're not doing any type of bulk mail,
or established committee.
it's not really an issue. Budget at the end of the year, we could, we could do it ourselves, we could do a postcard type deal, prints.
Let's put it this way, if the budget is correct when we get this all fixed, the first payment of the year. If we don't, first or second payment of the year, we'll afford these things easily. So right after the first year, they can be purchased. Easier. It's probably better than waiting towards the end of the year, because the end of the year is the crunch, as you know. So
I do have one request. You said you might have a 2013 laptop or something.
I do.
I need to get something to James.
I'll give it to them. So problem.
If we could borrow one of those till the end of the year,
I don't care, Bob. I was gonna recycle that works.
I'm just saying, I had nothing to give him email. I need something.
I'll wipe it and give it to you. It's, like I said, at a certain stage, I don't sell them anymore. I give them to people who need them. So
I have one laptop we found here. It's got a dead battery and a cellular processor. I'm trying to make it do something, but cellular processor. Not doing that.
we got three that need new monitors, but the monitors are still $400. So,
He just needs a lot.
I'll
He just needs to scan documents and send it.
fine. It's not worth it.
But that brings another great example. Yeah, we just have to stop spending. I gotta talk to James too. So I believe he still was on a credit card for.
So I'm guessing that all this decking and the park repair. you feel-
Actually, decking and park repair we can talk about because that is
Reserve.
going to be reserves.
Okay. So then how about we have that
So
discussion?
that discussion's fairly simple as I put here. I'm recommending Silpo's construction just because their total came to 5,600, which is much cheaper. James did confirm to me, there's no preference between one or the other. They're all gonna do through bolt construction over here in the back.
Right.
The only thing I personally want to make note of is, great, this is structural repair. We're gonna get that done. It may not look pretty, so there may be something else to look into after, whether it's individual standing of boards, getting a deck stain, just putting it out there, because I don't know what. But there might be a cosmetic
For the weather.
item, well, probably whatever, but
But even
Well,
so, all
Is that 5,600 for just out here? That's not the playground.
it's a playground.
Playground in this repair.
Well,
I'm not about fixing the playground.
I'm 100% for fixing that.
well,
I want to know
So you
what
guys
happened to
cancel everything else?
the yellow tape.
It's
over
built
there?
down there. Kid, adults, teenagers, live down there.
we
They're gonna start
need
spending more
to,
money in yellow tape than fixing the
yeah, we need to
I'll
get
get
it.
caught up in red tape.
We have to make a decision on it. Otherwise, it's only so.
It's a liability.
Yeah, I
isn't
know.
it?
Of course. Yeah, it's a reserve expense. I see no reason not to. The other reason I'm against repairing it, Mark, is you're gonna be well over.
You're for repairing. You're for repairing.
I'm sorry, I'm against not repairing. Or,
Stuff is negative.
That's a double negative.
I want to repair it. I don't want to replace it.
I was thinking like a double negative. I was thinking-
No, I don't want to replace. I just want to torn down. The one shaft, the one quadrant that is rotting and it's got the tape on it.
You just want to torn
We
down.
just tear that piece down rather than spend $3,000 to fix it.
Well, I
Because you
disagree.
could build a new one for people. And here's how these things
The
go.
goal is 5 and.
They're gonna get in there and start fixing it. And then they're gonna be, how these old rotten things go is there's gonna be another problem and then another problem and another problem.
Could be,
And next thing you know, we're replacing all the wood for the entire thing.
And
that's more likely out here than there. There you
Oh,
go.
I agree with Mark.
This is a big
Well-
problem out here,
I agree with fix this, yes.
but you're gonna have the
And
same
tear
problem.
What I'm saying is
Well, I disagree with that. I don't think the community is gonna be okay with
But
just
for this, it's
having a playground
more of a
there.
necessity.
No,
It's
no,
not
let's
just
tear
for
it.
one bottom.
It's just the one part that is rotten, not tear the whole playground down.
Mhm.
Just that one part that's rotten
It's dangerous. That's like. a
that's
kid
been,
trap.
and
No,
tear
the bridge.
I know. I don't see why we just don't replace, that's all they're doing is
Okay,
replacing.
It is in the reserve. It is in coming out of our normal working budget. It is.
It's not something we're gonna have.
It's a viable expense.
I will bet you a 6-pack on it.
But
Fine, yeah.
That-
I have a question for you.
Domestic or import.
The question is that I've never seen anybody play in that area at all.
They're all-
Okay.
They're-
My
they're-
kids play over there.
over there. Oh, there's children there.
I actually have a camera that's gonna be going up facing it.
I
just
was gonna
for-
say, well,
I come on in the evenings, not during the day, so.
I can tell you that like, well, there's a lot of moms clubs, they're gonna notice that and they're gonna.
So that's
when
not.
we watch the dogs
Going
at
to
noon, there are
raise a
children
lot
over
of-
there every day.
In
So,
my last life, before this one,
Did you have one?
not really. My weekends were spent doing exactly that kind of thing for the HOA, which is, I was the maintenance man.
Mhm.
as well as the treasurer, as well as the legal advisor and the whole thing, so I would go out there and fix it. We also didn't have as many people involved, but I mean, I built a building, a new gate system and all kinds of irrigation stuff, and I built all this kind of stuff to get around those kind of things. It is repairable by humans pretty easily for less than what they're charging us for. However, someone wants to have a beer with me, I can help them fix it.
I don't have time for beer.
I did ask you, I already got your input last time I asked this.
Mark,
You're not gonna help, but
Mark will give you.
when you get clear with things, you might help, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
it's a possibility,
that's a few weeks down the road, hopefully.
it's possible. It's gonna be a few weeks before they get to fix it. I promise they're not coming around. That's. These vendors are amazing to me at this point. You call them and say, yeah, I can get to in the next weeks, 5 weeks, yeah, you're on schedule for, next month. And I'm like, I was like, 2, oh, I got to the schedule in a couple weeks. Anyway, just a thought. If we don't think it's really necessary, I mean, I know the much out of it about it. I think if the kids plan it, and I'm, again, not having kids, other than Heather, we have,
Oh,
go ahead, go ahead. She's got her sisters, so it doesn't matter what this one.
Okay,
The, I'm gonna be a shit show when she comes back in, this is how it's gonna come in. The, I don't know whether it has that.
I would rather spend $2,000 on getting JR a cell phone so he can do his job.
This is very expensive.
Yeah,
I'm saying, this is, we're running out of money that's spent to fix this thing, and you're saying not to fix it.
Right, I guess the big thing is, it's reserve money. It's.
If it wasn't reserve, I would get it.
Yeah, I'd be with you 100%.
Yeah, it's a structure here that either go, like your point, either goes away. We're getting advice that says, and I kind of agree that I ride the bike around here, there's family across all the time. And it's a liability right now, so you just
It is
gotta.
a
Well, if it's reserve money, that changes things if it's not operating funds.
Yeah, no, it's all out of reserve.
Does change things. You would not have me agree to anything.
And if it's gonna stick at,
You just had me turn down like a, $500 iPad, but you think we're gonna vote for a
$5,000.
$5,000 fix? We don't have money yet.
Actually, I called the military, told them up to sit there, deducted for your check, it's over something from 10 years ago, so I said,
yeah. You pay too much anyway, so.
okay,
So do we want to vote on this?
I mean, there's-
$5,600 to fix the pier and
I mentioned that.
not a
we-
penny more.
100%,
What is it
There's never
now?
a guarantee.
but 100% from reserve, not from operator. It's
Wait,
Say
wait, wait, wait,
reserve.
wait. Where's this? We're talking about these people here.
So
Yeah,
close,
so-
stop it.
All right, but
That's all I want.
That's
so
what
I'm gonna put the
Corey's
motion,
got the most detail to it, there's no question about it. so-
Is there, do they say plus or minus 10%? I don't want to be
Right.
5,600 we approve and then.
Look, it's a plus or minus what they find, and that's the honest to God's truth.
Mm.
The point is, it's not approved, so even if you approve the 5,600, it's not going a dime over. They're gonna come back, James is gonna come back and he's gonna show us what's broken, and it's gonna cost.
State law requires a written estimate over 10% of the original estimate, that's what state law requires.
And I personally would have something written, no matter the percentage, nothing over 5,600. It's gonna require an additional approval and a conversation, even if that be a special board meeting.
Or that can be done by email,
Or by
it's just a simple amendment
Depending on-
to what's already been done.
that's it.
Take a motion.
Motion to approve, the construction for the, 50,000.
5,600.
5,600.
Holy crap, you make me.
Sorry.
Reserve expense.
Reserve expense repair for the deck and the playground.
A second.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You can oppose, Mark, then.
Please, I mean, I'm really, I get where you're coming from.
May I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
That money that's gonna come out of the reserve, then does that have to get replaced from the operating funds?
Place, but not for a long time.
Not immediately. No, because you figure when we do our reserve budget at the end of the year.
How much money is in that reserve fund?
Right now, 197,000 plus 65,000,
197,000.
two different accounts. We have 65,000 in one account,
So
197.
it's two different accounts that are gonna pay for this one thing.
It's all the same budget, yeah. Same funding, you should say.
$250,000.
$250,000
that's-
in
That's
reserves.
for the pool, that's for the
Right.
house, that's for the gym. I mean.
You know, it's not enough.
But, yeah.
But it's enough to cover 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 if we had to, but, you know,
All right. I,
thank you for being students with that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no. No, it's absolutely valid. And it's okay to say no, right? It's a-
Yes,
it's a
it
vote,
is.
it's why we want it. Actually,
Jason,
it looks like we're voting
bidding for
making a
$3,000.
decision.
Yeah, at this point, motion carried. Right? And I do appreciate it.
doesn't matter what I say.
We fight for the last vote here, whether it's required or not.
Wait, I'm gonna hold it up.
In this case, you had a vote, but it didn't matter.
That's right.
Don't worry, if you did vote against, I wasn't gonna put your name down.
No, that's fine, you should. Because then I can, when I run for reelection, I can say I was in favor of fiscal responsibility while the rest of the board wanted to spend.
And your opponent, would be like, and he doesn't care about the big ones.
That's right, he doesn't care about the kids.
You question my chess playing ability because the reason I don't vote.
Yeah.
The irony is, we're trying to put up a park over there, but take one down over here. See how well it's gonna work out. Okay.
Can the kids lose?
You haven't figured out how.
We
No,
don't-
that's
Okay, so
decent.
we're
marks,
not
right?
going to do the stuffer.
No,
No.
we could table that,
Tabling it.
table laptops, folio migration.
Well, can we talk about which one you want to skip? The
I-
stuffer, we're not gonna do
We're
the
gonna
stuffer. Okay.
table.
I'm
We're,
gonna keep it on old business and
It
definitely.
is, it's definitely.
So
gonna
to
happen.
me,
Right, you keep it on old business, yeah.
the primary function of the HOA, our primary mission is to keep things up and running and in good shape. So JR is really our primary mission. So we
Almost.
need to equip him with the tools to do his job. What?
what?
Engineering?
That's me. That's my radio.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm working in events, so they're calling for engineering. Sorry about that.
Yes, you will.
Just
So-
so anything.
so that is our primary function.
Well,
Like if the,
That's one of them.
Actually, there's,
he doesn't function without a
The
budget
definition
or a
of
salary.
our
or-
responsibility is the fiduciary responsibility. Fiduciary refers to
right, why do we collect money?
rules.
Why do we collect
No,
money?
fiduciary doesn't mean finance.
Mhm.
Fiduciary means we,
Right, we're looking after the best interest of the community.
right, so rule enforcement,
And maintenance.
maintenance, and finances. Those are that's our function as a board. That's all.
I agree.
So
And so,
what tools are you referring to? Because I agree, he doesn't have some things he needs.
He needs comms. He needs a way to communicate with us, to get emails, to get, so if you have an alternate method, but I'm in favor of spending money to get him what he needs to keep things fixed, to keep the splash pad running, so he can be on call wherever he is in the neighborhood.
Okay, I have a recommendation then. We can get a very inexpensive account that gets a free phone, that gives him communications that isn't using his phone. And then give him the laptop to do data entry.
He has no problem with this. Communications with James is not an issue.
Mhm.
It's just not, it's a non-issue. Text and call him, that's not a problem.
So what does he need?
He needs for instance, just these quotes on the back, right? He just forwards them all over to me. He doesn't filter through them very well because he doesn't have anything other than his current phone. to filter through. He needs a laptop.
His
Sit down.
current privately owned.
Right, he needs a laptop that he could get all this data scanned into, get, and more importantly, access that folio on the back level and look at all the test flows.
So how's he gonna scan it?
Right here, we got the printer now. I'll make it all work. Give me a laptop, I'll make it all work.
Okay.
Sean's got a laptop we can borrow.
yeah, and it's a bridge.
Actually,
It's a bridge, again, I'm gonna keep it on
I
old
am
business.
planning to give a scanner, donate a scanner to Jennifer's desk, which is a sheet scanner because of the invoices and checks and things that she's gonna be scanning. I'm just gonna love it.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do it for free, that's fantastic.
I
We
might
just
do
need
that.
to find a way to get him the tools he needs.
We could do it for, and again, I'm a big believer of, you can't afford to do it the right way.
Mhm.
Do it the worst way possible because it'll force you to do it the right way and stick to the plan when the funds are there. So we're gonna limp on this. It's gonna stay on old business until
Yes.
the end of the year and we say we have money. We're not gonna think twice
Thank
about
you.
spending it.
And
Absolutely.
I don't disagree with that, but like I said, I can get him a laptop, so that gets us past that problem.
Well, that's the limit.
And then, well,
Okay.
no, it's a limp, was a $3,200 laptop, but
In 2013.
it's an old shoe.
Depreciation,
Is it in the
$6.
Is it Apple?
Dude.
It's
don't go there.
it's a limp, so it's a huge
You
limp.
really
It's a
wanna
mess.
go there with me today? I mean, no, that's what we don't do with me.
Usually.
Okay, we have a laptop for JR.
Mhm.
He can scan the information in.
I was thinking about some other tools that he,
Yeah, the big problem with maintenance, and this is more of 2023 issue.
yep, we need to get some.
This guy has a pair of pliers and a screwdriver. He gets by now because we have my garage, which is great.
And I told him that he was looking for a chop saw, and so I've got one in the garage, you're welcome to use it. I mean, basically, we need some tools.
Can't buy
Maintenance
them.
requires tools.
He doesn't have maintenance, there's nothing in the shed, we don't need maintenance.
There's a small toolbox.
No, it's like, you know, the kind of toolbox.
So,
that
yeah, I
runs
mean,
with doesn't
I
do
have
anything.
tools too.
We all-
My wife would like me to get rid of, because I only get hurt when I use them. So,
One day he needs better tools. Right now, it's not that bad.
No.
That needs to be built into.
That is on the budget,
Okay,
budget, that's not today. Budget,
So,
I've already got it in
so the
mind.
Dickberry crop, the release is on hold. These are all gonna be old business, which are absolutely.
Yes.
You know,
Have to be and need to be.
you know, we could even bundle them under old business operational update, you know, for that, even laptops, you know, and then the Apple migration.
There's something.
I've gotta go pretty shortly.
Which you probably aren't aware of, but JR pays for his uniforms.
Uh,
Did you guys know that?
I'm sorry.
The shirts that he has embroidered, he's been paying for those. He gets reimbursed from associate
Yeah.
that comes out of our stipend.
Yeah.
He's requested more of those.
I think he has enough now.
He
He
says he's
has,
got 5.
he's got 5, that's more than plenty. I operate, you
That's
guys
one a
have
day.
seen my one, and that lasts me all. He's fine.
Okay,
he has
so
one,
I'm
that's one
just
a
trying to have
day.
a conversation with him. So I had conversations with Jennifer and me about payroll, and this what got thrown at me when I was talking to them, so I'm just bringing it out so you guys can hear it.
Small things, I put quick note, because that comes in the relation to, so small things we may have setbacks or issues with. Okay, so we're gonna pull James's credit card. He does need to buy some stuff sometimes. Tracking over there. I know he just bought that tracking. I can't see it being more than $20, $25 expense, but to get certain projects done around here, he needs to have some small expenses. The discussion was a credit card. I was working on it at the bank. I don't know where that falls in line with, we don't have money.
If it goes on the credit card and it's, I can, first of all, do we have a spending limit for him?
I'd have to look. There is, I don't recall. what
I
it
don't
is.
remember his, I remember others, but I don't remember his.
I remember Heather, I remember
I was
Proving
saying,
Social, I remember.
I'm pretty sure he has one. I gotta look, but
Well, when we get the credit card, it's manageable because we can change those things anyway, so
Right.
the thing is that,
Go
if
back
you
to
charge
the
something
minutes.
this month and it's not due the following month, you know, it buys us some time, especially in December, obviously. And then,
and let's put it this way, I don't care if it's cash. The point is, he needs to have $100.
So
He
do
needs to
we,
go get screws to fix something at the
Well, yeah, you're
moment.
calling it, what's the old phrase called petty cash,
He needs petty cash.
right? And he has an envelope and
Oh,
he signs out $100 and he gets
Possible,
receipts in there. I know.
You get what I'm saying, though. You know,
Okay, so
you can
It's
put a
coming
hole
back,
in it.
it's coming back.
it is coming back
But
at the gas station.
for instance, we need trash bags. I mean, there's regular maintenance supplies around here that is usually ordered by Jennifer.
Right, so we-
James goes and picks them up.
so that's our stipend difference, those are unexpected expenses that, not unexpected, but unaccounted for expenses for at the moment, and they're going to exist.
Toilet paper is toilet paper.
As long as it doesn't hit $7,000 in the next 4
No,
months.
no, I'm just putting that out. there.
14,000.
I understand, I'm just. I'm just using the number.
14,000 is what we don't have invoices for yet.
Right, so we
I
made.
Right,
we
you
made
can't count on
some.
that money. That's why we've got to go with 20,000 and then everything that comes down from that comes down.
Good, that's not it.
That's not in that 14.
Yeah, I mean,
I get
okay,
Right.
so whether the picture is dark or darkest, that's null and void. And so that's certainly a possibility. I mean, I spent money that's out of my pocket, but we did employment posters and I spent, you know, I mean, I'm just doing it because I know I'll get it back at some point. If I don't, I'm paying my dues and I'm just taking out my dues for the rest of my life. I don't really care.
I got a lot of internal expenses of my own that I'm never gonna.
approved posters,
That's
I
fine.
re-
Okay.
at some point, I
Right,
know,
but ours were outdated and we have an employee starting Monday, and so I needed to get them on site.
but we did, I remember we talked about posters at some point. And
At that point,
Yeah.
for that year, I mean, we now needed current ones.
And then
That's
we built into the
that's
budget,
another-
posters need to be replaced annually.
Exactly.
so that's fine.
The one project I was hoping.
How are we on this? What are we talking about?
HR posters, they need to be.
Gotta have it.
replaced.
Money.
Full
The
disclosure,
OSHA ones,
OSHA, stupid minimum wage, all that stuff that's required by the government.
And I know we went from JR spending.
Because,
credit.
because it's tough. At the end of the day, you need to spend money to operate, right? So for instance, I really want to get the network project completed by the end of this year. You're going to need to spend money to do that.
what money? You got
What
money.
money? I don't have,
Hold
I
on.
have budgeted money.
No, hold
I don't
on.
have.
You've already spent.
Christmas week project.
Well, wait, let me tell you something here. This is a positive thing. You've already spent what comes out of this operating budget. What's left is you want, you got approved from reserve.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I have it in the network budget for what, 8 grand out of reserve money. It's not a problem. I just want to let everyone know that there's at least probably another. I don't even know. I think it's to finish, I don't know. I gotta look at my spreadsheet.
He's gotta find out if
Bottom line
it's
is
rotted
that
wood.
At this point, it's being drawn from reserve because you've spent the amount, we had a lot of operating, so it's not affecting this bottom line for this year. It's already spent.
Kathy, I have a $28,000 budget on this, pre-approved. A year ago.
No, you spent your budget.
No, I have it right here.
No,
You should know the numbers. I got it. Right.
He spent the cash, there was a lot of to it for the operating system, the rest of it's been becoming a system reserve. He does, sure. The other
May I
budget,
have an itemized list on that, please?
Yeah, right now.
Great.
Well, I do agree that our network and everything, the improvements that we did make, I think that were necessary. So I think that's fine. As far as this credit card spending
Kathy, I
limit,
spent $20,129.74 today.
Right.
Out
the
of a
rest of it comes
$28,000.
from reserve, that's exactly what he's saying.
So, point being is,
I'm tracking it, I promise.
if we want to finish this, there's gonna be some expenses that's still gonna be. Probably not too much.
Christmas week project.
Christmas week.
By the time I get to full, I got enough to get the dog park done. I probably have enough to get this place done. So, I need to do a second part.
okay, but
Let's get back to JR's
cor-
petty cash spending.
should we approve something now or are we confident there's something there? If we need to approve amount, let's just approve amount and settle it and audit it as.
I don't know what that amount is, but I could see, I don't see JR needing to spend over $100 a week, maybe. Jennifer might even be a better question. for
So do you
this.
wanna authorize $500 a month on a, but, you know, if it goes out, he has to have receipts and stuff.
Yeah, it has to be
Yeah,
itemized.
It has to be.
That's
itemized.
what, but, yeah,
Yeah.
get a slip and you come back and say, here it is. And in fact, he doesn't even have to control the money. The money can be controlled by the town. He just comes in and says, I need $24 to go get 2 pieces of plywood or whatever, and they would then give out.
Well, depending on when the money comes from.
Right.
When it's a credit
It could be
card.
the can.
We did ask them.
I mean, the CAM, we do have I know in the minutes, we did approve a certain amount for the CAM and I thought it was.
It is.
Within a couple thousand, but so are we saying?
What is-
That was for Heather specifically, are we keeping that?
Well,
amount for Patty?
That's a discussion point that we can have at this
The
point. whether
easy
we-
solution is if we get the credit card, and even if we don't get the credit card, then we get a debit. We don't need the 3. One, I don't care who holds it back here. The point is, if we're gonna approve a $500 per month budget, I don't care who spends it. It's $500, need the receipts.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
The odds of us getting approved for a credit card is slimmer because we didn't pay the last one.
Well,
We as an HOA, not we as a people.
okay, again, if we have to get a debit card, we get one debit. Same as that.
Okay, so I think we should approve a certain amount. If it's gonna be 500 a month, I think we should just approve it, move forward, and if we need to adjust them, but having,
It's collecting one person that owes us $1,000, just, I mean, or $2,000 for the rest of the year. We can collect that, it offsets it. I'm just telling you, what I'm thinking about where the money comes from at this point. We just gotta get some of this money.
And I'm thinking, there is a policy out there that states who can spend what. I don't have it in front of me. But-
Well,
but what I'm-
it
what I'm-
was correct. You technically, I think the way it was worded, it might have been worded with the name of the individual that was allowed, which might be a good point if we might run a remotion that to
I'm
either
simply
state in
saying-
a particular name. or
And
just-
can oversee the expenditure of this amount of money on.
Correct.
Minor.
Our previous pass on that was $1,500 per incident, not per period.
I'm
Right.
simply saying,
If it,
I see,
Yeah,
I go
I'm
by
simply
period,
saying
and
instead of
then they have to come back and say.
digging that document up
"How
right
do we
here,
expend
right
more for
now.
this?" That
I just
becomes-
wanna know, we're just gonna say, right here, right now, going throughout to the end of the year, there's a next $500 per month number. And if anything goes over, it needs to go to board approval.
For the maintenance person.
For everyone. that works.
For
Everyone, me included, everyone,
yes,
everyone.
What was it again? I'm sorry.
If I need to go buy toilet paper for the bathroom, it needs to come out of that debit.
So a $500 a month petty cash for the HOA.
That's for now. So we end the year, then we could go back and look at our budgeted policies.
And here's the cool thing is with the done on the debit card, it's easy for me to track what our spending habits are and be able to project better this way too. I like that idea.
I agree.
The truth is, I don't really use the debit card. The only thing I've been using it for is
Oh, we've got Amazon purchases and
Yeah.
things for them.
Amazon purchases.
well, from a personal
Not maintenance. items.
perspective, I know my husband does not want me using my credit card for any more transactions moving forward because. So I've donated some money, so, and not said anything, and we moved on, but anyway.
Address,
You haven't submitted any.
Well, certain things I just well, no, I have submitted,
I know
but
he's got some-
You gotta check, you could check.
I haven't
I don't
done
wanna
anything.
end the entire conversation. That's-
Okay, but I would like to end this particular portion because I think we should.
Discussion that I had on the sidebar when we talking to Tommy about when we at the bank is, people that are authorized to spend should have a debit. Card. Like, for example, it's usually normal for an officer to have a debit card, but in this case, you're authorized to spend for the social committee, so
Yes.
you should have a debit. Card. So if she wasn't an officer, so that's a normal thing, of course. Because we're all acting in the best interest of the organization, we're not gonna spend money willy-nilly, that's not the way it works, but you have a limit to your spending. Everyone should have a limit to their spending. If it's not approved, there's a limit to which you can
Well,
approve without approval, I don't think.
I think we should just re-motion and then make sure we establish that point and just move forward with that. And then if we want to get eventually debit cards and change, which I think would be more appropriate and make things apply directly to the HOA account, which I would prefer, then it just can be monitored directly by your treasurer and.
As you're noticing, I'm on it.
I agree with John.
So. you're
So we're
saying-
not having like,
I
whole
think I
records.
think we rescind that $1,500 per incident authorization.
Absolutely.
I say we rescind the entire policy of expenditures at this particular moment. in time.
Okay, let's make a motion.
Did you just make
He
a
did.
motion?
Okay.
No, he just made a suggestion. for
That
what-
depends on how time it's worded.
No, I would rescind the whole policy because that's the problem. I'm not staring at it and it really doesn't matter what's on it. So we're gonna rewrite the entire thing. So
Okay.
let's make a motion to rescind the current expenditure.
Second,
All those,
All staff and management. Oh, everyone.
yeah, everything. It's the whole policy.
Because I think it's been multiple people in different policies, right?
That's, yeah. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Any opposed?
will.
Turn roll back on.
I think Will dumped off.
Okay.
Okay, motion carries.
So,
So the
I do
question,
think, yeah, the next step is to approve something that.
the question is, we need to approve something for maintenance expenses.
Mhm.
I don't mean maintenance man, I just mean maintenance expenses. Screws, toilet paper, I don't know.
I think the plan was if you go $500 on a single debit card, person who uses a debit card. It's put in control of the CAM. The CAM has it. If somebody needs it, they go to the CAM, explain what. She's signing it out. This is what the estimate is. And so that way, the person can come back with a $600 bill, right? It's gonna be $50 for X. And we manage it. And if that's insufficient, we can adjust that as it goes forward.
I can make a little next, yeah.
Well, I mean, but we're still in business, so you still need garbage bags and you still need,
No, that's a given. And I'm not-
I would do that a little bit different. wouldn't go to the CAM. The CAM's part of the expenditure, right? The problem we had with Heather was she was the CAM and we were spending through everything. So I wouldn't go to CAM, I would say for right now, let's get a debit card, max expenditure is $500 a month. All expense approvals must go, be emailed through the entire board and ultimately approved by the treasurer.
So the other thing. we
Every
have-
time he wants to go get
From
a,
now till the end of the year, it's supposed to be miserable math because we want to make sure we fix the problem.
all right, that's fine.
But we also
I don't
want,
know.
That's just my thought process.
More restrictive is better.
no problem. We need
Hi,
to train,
Darren.
we need to train people to, including Jim. Oh, Jim, John.
Done.
We got it.
We need to train them to make sure that they understand what the, the necessity is to keep us informed, because what happened in the past, is we get these expenses on a report and we wouldn't know what they were for in the first place. It's better to know what what's going on really is.
That's why we have the email group, just email everyone.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, the petty cash, when I was in business, the petty cash went through the CFO. You went to the CFO and said, I need $500 to go get a cat fixed, and they would
I
get.
have full intent for 2023 to put
I mean-
POs in.
And fix the problem. I get it. That's what I'm saying for now, if you email, simple email to all, I'm going to Costco, I'm probably gonna spend about $100. Okay, cool, send us the,
Who would be sending that email?
whoever's going.
Who approves, so you, him, I mean,
Well, ultimately him, but the point is if we see $100 expenditure, he's gonna tell us.
I'll approve it and email that.
Yeah, and he's gonna say, hey, you guys spent the $530 this month, what's up with this next?
so he can then say, wait a minute, you're at $500, we're not gonna do anything more until we get some kind of decision.
And if we're out of toilet paper, then we could all respond to it, well.
Bank will
We'll miss you.
All right, sorry.
it's.
All right,
the
I had a
game.
conscience.
You have a concert, where are we going? What are we gonna hear?
John Hyatt, buddy guy,
Oh, really?
How about?
so, sorry.
In regards to the $500, it's not spent just for the policy. Do we want that to carry over or
No,
go back to?
Absolutely not.
I agree with that.
No,
It's not,
Absolutely.
they're not gaining.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
it's not a use it or lose it. It's a-
So just
It
a
is
hard-
Look at $2,000 with the carryover. fund. Yeah.
If you're really good at saving budget,
Good point.
there's a bonus if you.
Have fun, drive carefully,
Okay, so that's,
especially in the weather.
$500 use or lose per month
Well,
Yeah,
for operating, for operating.
and then you break it in at
Maintenance,
the
we
end.
call
or
it,
whatever
we
you
call it
do.
maintenance.
I just want to call it maintenance operating
feel
expense.
good about interest in the guys.
I make a motion for a maintenance operating expense debit card with the max expenditure of $500 a month. All expenses must go through the board and approved by the treasurer.
Yeah, second.
okay, hold on, let me write that on.
My wife does it all the time. Okay, say that again.
Yeah, say it again slowly, so
And you,
everyone hears what you said.
and you want it to be approved,
I want a,
approval by both the president and the treasurer, or just the treasurer?
I just
I
want an
think it's-
informative email to go out to the whole board.
You want me to, okay, you want me to write all that?
Well, okay, the motion is that we approve this $500 monthly maintenance expense on a debit card.
Okay. I got all that.
All purchases to be sent out to the board and ultimately approved by the treasurer.
Okay. All right. Second,
All those in favor?
Um,
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Any other items, so I need to look at the thing.
I mean, yeah, but
Just administrative question on the ARC, we call it. Not the charter,
charter,
the charter that we approved last week.
Yeah.
Where do you want me to send that? Because I have the PDF copy.
I am going to get with you.
And
To set him up with the proper.
yes, this.
For the records, it needs to be somewhere else other than.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
some
the
knowledge.
spot,
of
so
this.
he's got
You
done
can Set it
that.
up and send me access, you'll have access to it and put it there.
Perfect.
It'd be great.
Okay, anyone have anything else open to everyone, even though there's not many people?
so what about this migration status, where we
So we've
just,
kind of been talking about that a little bit.
it's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so we're hoping to get account balances in within the next, by Monday.
Well, tonight, I'm putting, whether you like it or not.
I need to figure out violations and ARC. Now, this doesn't stop us from going live. It's just something I'm working on and getting pieced together. I'm hoping I can meet with you, maybe you, sometime this week to go over that process.
Okay.
Other than that, we're gonna go live on the 15th. It's gonna be fine.
Has anyone had difficulty logging in?
That was what I wanted to do today, and I forgot to mention it. Yeah, I wanted to go over logins with everyone.
So my management login works, but the personal login does not.
Actually, it's not going live until we go
Okay.
live.
That makes
And
sense.
that's something I want to tell you. I can't even log on as a person except
Yeah.
for on the practice site.
I can't. I can send out individuals, and I want to, so if you are all in front of your computer one day, call me. We'll get you set up, because I want you all to be able to see what they're gonna see before they see.
Yeah. let's do that.
Okay,
So,
do
yeah.
you wanna set up a time to do that?
Just call
No,
me.
just if you get an email, fill it out and it'll give you the access to the user portal as opposed to the board member portal.
But that is true. I gotta send you an email and you'll get that. But honestly, just call me.
So
we
there's a practice site you can play with too.
Because I wanna show
I've been
you
on that
while you're on. the
If
phone.
you log in that, you
So,
have
hey,
access
Ken,
to
you
the
get
member
here.
portal, see how it looks. It's really very similar without the accounting section. It's on
Right,
there.
I've seen, he set up one for with the
Okay,
John Smith or something. I was looking at.
That works fine.
well, there's a storm blowing in, so I don't know. if
Really?
you-
You just got that now?
And should we state right now that we're gonna meet again next Friday?
Do we need another meeting?
I feel like during this transition here, we need to
The
be.
15th is a Monday, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, that's
A
perfect.
week, yes.
We'll do another meeting, same bad
That's
time,
our-
same bad
That's our
channel.
live date, is the 15th, if it's the target.
Yeah, it's a week from Monday.
So we'll meet the Friday before the Monday then.
So next,
On the 12th.
that would be next Friday.
Next Friday.
Perfect.
Okay, so
You can give us another update on finances and.
Hold on.
sorry, the-
Update on the finance. I'm hoping to keep that agenda pretty clean. So update on the finances and show and tell. on it.
Absolutely.
So the 12th, at what, 3:00?
Yeah, Brian, will
Sounded
have
pretty
say
good.
I'll have the stuff and I'll try to get it in over the weekend if I get it to them tonight. So it's what they're trying to work with us as best they can.
So next Friday, I got a client install starting at 10. I don't know what time it'll be at.
It's okay. I was supposed to be in Indianapolis. I can't take.
Let's shoot Friday at 5.
5,
Friday at 5?
you bringing pizza?
I would definitely bring pizza Friday at 5. It's actually a great idea.
Move Dr. Funenberger's fund to October.
Yeah, let's do Friday at 5.
Okay, so no, I can't come to board meetings 2 weeks before Halloween and during Christmas. I'm sorry, I just can't do that.
I would never.
All right, are we officially adjourning? It is 4:35.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Right,
That was gonna be next week.
5:00.
Tom, thanks.
Thank you.
You are no
Thank
different than
you.
any other finance officer I've
Please.